give it to Musiala, he will bail you out. If you can't just pass the ball out from the back, he just takes it and beat one or two men.
No.
Could he be the best player in the world one day?
I think so, yeah.
He's got a blend of Kaká. I don't know who else is others. Like and he's. I think he's even got more silks than maybe Kaká. The way he can move people.
Musiala, if not the best, one of the best number 10s in the world.
He's someone who can do the unexpected in every single situation. And I love him. He's such a complete player and such a nice guy as well. Very humble.
Today we're going to cover a story about a player who went from being a talent to a superstar in no time. He could have chosen to represent Nigeria, Poland, or even England, and ultimately decided to go with Germany. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the story of Jamal Musiala. In the heart of Fulda, a small town in central Germany, there's a stone grandstand that holds more than just history. It holds the beginning of something truly remarkable. It was here, at the end of a standout season of 2008-2009, that 11 boys from the under-7 team lined up for a team photo. Each one wore a gold medal around their neck and held a silver trophy. But there was one boy, far right, front row, who couldn't stop smiling. While every player celebrated a season well played, only one held something extra. A custom-made gold and silver boot engraved with the words TSV Lehnerz G Juniors 2008-2009 top scorer. To quote Mischa Hoffmann, Musiala's first coach, the boy scored 5 to 10 goals every game. I would have been a terrible coach if I hadn't given him something to remember it by. And boy, did that simple gesture make a difference. Musiala still holds on to that trophy and has a special place in his luxury house that used to belong to the Bayern Munich legend Philipp Lahm. But let's go back even further as per usual. Jamal Musiala was born on February 26, 2003 in Stuttgart, Germany. But his story spans continents and cultures. His mother, Caroline, is of Polish descent just like myself and had emigrated to Germany to build a better future. His father, Daniel Richard, known simply as Rich, came from Nigeria, where he once played football at a competitive level before relocating to England and later Germany. From the very beginning, football was a family affair. Rich wasn't just Jamal's father. He was his biggest fan, unofficial coach and sideline motivator. Branko Milenkowski, one of Jamal's early coaches at TSV Lehnerz, remembers it vividly. Rich was totally crazy about football. He'd be sprinting up and down the sideline, cheering Jamal on. After some games, he was sweating more than his son. While Rich brought the passion, Caroline brought the calm. She'd quietly stand on the sidelines, camera in hand, capturing moments for the family photo album. Her influence on Jamal wasn't just emotional, it was practical. It was her decision to pursue a degree in social sciences that brought the Musiala family to Fulda, where this football journey began. From the moment he stepped onto the pitch, Jamal Musiala stood out. In his first season alone, the gifted youngster scored over 100 goals, an extraordinary tally at any level of youth football. For his local club, TSV Lehnerz, it was both a blessing and a clear signal. His coach, Mischa Hoffmann, remembers it well. Jamal was under-challenged, he says, so we decided to let him play with older kids. His father was all for it. Even though he was 2 years younger than many of his opponents, Jamal moved through them like they weren't there, always with the ball seemingly glued to his feet. The talent was undeniable, and it wasn't just technical ability. What set him apart even then was his mental strength. Calm under pressure, focused beyond his years, he had a presence that other children simply didn't. But there was also this other thing about Jamal, and that didn't go unnoticed. He had a habit of celebrating every goal, his team's or the opponent's. It was sweet, but slightly awkward. His father, Rich, didn't quite know what to make of it. Every time Jamal cheered when the other team scored, Rich would throw his hands up in horror, and then burst into laughter. It was a glimpse of the joy Jamal brought to the game, not just through goals, but through the pure love of playing. And even back then, everyone watching could tell that this boy was destined for more. Until the age of 7, Jamal Musiala was a key part of TSV Lehnerz, his hometown club in Fulda. Week after week, tournament after tournament, he won games not just with the team, but often for them. But just as Musiala was beginning to make his mark on the local football scene, his mother, Caroline, had been accepted into a 4-month Erasmus program at the University of Southampton in England as part of her master's studies at Frankfurt's Goethe University. It was an academic opportunity too good to pass up. And so, the family made a bold decision. They left Fulda behind, Caroline, her husband Rich, Jamal, and now also his younger sister, Letitia. What waited for Jamal in England wasn't just a new country, a new language, and a new school. It was a new chapter in his development, one that would take him from local talent to the radar of top academies across Europe. It was the moment his small world stardom began to reach far beyond the borders of Fulda. When the Musiala family arrived in Southampton, Rich Musiala's first instinct was clear: find a way to get his son Jamal onto a football pitch. He reached out to Southampton FC's academy, but didn't get through. No callback, no invite. And that, some might say, is the issue with modern football. A 7-year-old child shouldn't need a resume to get a training session. Just let the kid play. But fate had a different route in store. Not long after, the family met a man named Jazz Patti, a local figure who ran City Central Football Club, a recreational youth team in the heart of Southampton. The club gave underprivileged and immigrant children a chance to play with joy and freedom, far from the pressures of elite academies. Jazz invited Jamal to join the under-7s, which was coached by his brother, Rosh Patti. And that's where another key figure enters the story, Levy Colwill. Back then, Levy was the most talented player at City Central, until Jamal walked onto the pitch. Rosh Patti was stunned. He watched as Jamal, barely 7 years old, recreated the tricks of Ronaldinho, Robinho and Zidane with uncanny precision. He was imitating his idols, but doing so with the body language and confidence of a seasoned pro. It didn't take long before the Patti brothers realized Jamal didn't belong at a weekend rec club. He needed a bigger stage. They reached out to their contact at Southampton's scouting department, Dick Hayes. Hayes agreed to come to watch Jamal's next match. And it couldn't have gotten better. Jamal scored 6 goals in the first 10 minutes. But the real story isn't the goals, it's what he wanted to do. Legend says Jamal's actual goal that day was to set up every single one of his teammates so they could all score. What 7-year-old thinks like that? Just a week later, in November 2010, Jamal was on a training pitch at Staplewood Campus, Southampton FC's official training ground. He played in a test match and scored double figures. That was all the academy needed to see. Within weeks, Jamal was wearing a Southampton kit. And before long, word spread. Scouts from across England began circling, Arsenal, Chelsea and more. Everyone wanted a closer look at this special talent. But just as things were taking off, reality stepped back in. Caroline Musiala's Erasmus program came to an end and the family temporarily returned to Fulda. But the decision had already been made. They were coming back, for good. As Caroline focused on finishing her master's thesis, she began looking for jobs and housing in London, drawn to the city's multicultural energy and opportunity. It was there that the next chapter of Jamal Musiala's journey would begin. The Musiala family had returned to England, this time settling in London. And when it came to choosing the next step in Jamal's footballing journey, the decision was made together. Chelsea Football Club. At this stage, Jamal was just 9 years old, but the opportunity was massive. His best friend, Levy Colwill, was also joining the academy. And back then, Chelsea were at the peak of their powers. Lampard, Terry, Drogba, all part of the club's core. For a young boy who adored the game, it was football heaven. Unsurprisingly, Musiala thrived. One standout moment came during the U12 Lech Cup in Poznan, Poland, where he scored what many still consider one of his finest youth goals. A moment of magic that left everyone watching with no doubt. This kid was different. As his reputation grew, so did his presence in international youth football. Jamal began representing England at various youth levels, scoring hat-tricks, slicing through defenses, making the game look easy. At times, it almost seemed unfair. Around this time, Germany's U16s came calling. Jamal accepted the invitation, not out of pressure, but because he saw himself as German. But something didn't quite click on the pitch. Honored by the chance, he quietly declined to continue. He was only 15 years old. Then came the turning point, Brexit.
By this country to join the common market has been reversed by this referendum to leave the EU.
As the campaign trail continues to pound the streets of Britain, the Vote Leave side of the Brexit debate worried that these streets will be increasingly overcrowded if Britain remains in the EU.
The Musiala family decided to move back to Germany, but in the background, a familiar presence had been keeping a close watch. Jamal's boyhood club, Bayern Munich, had been tracking him for years. When the opportunity came, the decision was simple. Bayern's U16 coach Alexander Moch was ecstatic when he got the news. Jamal was joining his team. And it didn't take long. At Bayern, Jamal exploded. Under the guidance of Miroslav Klose, he thrived in the youth academy. But it wouldn't be long before the first team came calling. Less than a year after his arrival in München, Jamal Musiala made his senior debut, substituted on for Thomas Müller in the 88th minute against Freiburg. He was just 17 years old. That same season, Bayern won the Champions League. Jamal didn't feature in the tournament, but he was part of the celebrations, posing for a now iconic photo with his idol Neymar. His Champions League debut followed soon after, away to Atletico Madrid. Then came a thrilling match against RB Leipzig. And suddenly, the hype surrounding Bayern's number 42 wasn't just noise, it was a signal. A star wasn't just rising. He had arrived. He quickly made new friends in the senior squad and hung out with Serge Gnabry, Sané and Goretzka, mainly. This is when he received his nickname Bambi by Sané, because of his dribbling skills and how he always had the ball so close to his feet. While Kimmich took the boy under his arm and ensured he got extra training with weights in the gym. With all these new German friends and the success that came with it, the decision was done to switch the nationality representation and join the DFB and German national team. Joachim Löw played a big part in convincing the teenager who met the player in person a few times. His first season in Bayern, Musiala played 26 games in total in Bundesliga, but coming mostly from the bench as he only averaged 33 minutes per game. Yet he scored 6 goals and had 1 assist. Remember that at this stage he just turned 18 years old. Not to mention that he secured a place in the German national team and got to play a total of 6 minutes in the 2020 Euros. He became the youngest player to score for Germany since 1910, but he does not hold that title any longer. Who do you think does? Without googling it, write your answer in the comments. Musiala was now known all over the world, but he was also on the podium for Golden Boy Award. And just as a cherry on top, in 2022, Musiala's strike sealed the Bundesliga title in a 3-1 victory over Borussia Dortmund in their Klassiker, giving Bayern their 10th straight Bundesliga title. None of this went unnoticed by the German national team gaffer Nagelsmann, who picked Musiala for the World Cup squad. That turned out to be a disaster for Germany, but not for Musiala, who was the only player who seemed to wanted to be there. In the game against Spain, Musiala had undoubtedly his best performance and ruled the pitch against Gavi and Pedri, who both beat him on the Golden Boy Award. He then continued and beat the record for most successful dribbles in a single World Cup game that was previously held by the legendary JJ Okocha, who maybe also deserves an episode. Anyway, after the group stage, Musiala was the top dribbler of the tournament and had twice as many successful dribbles as Messi, and 8 more than Davies, who was in second place. That resulted in Musiala winning the prestigious award of German Player of the Year in 2022, and the boy was flying high on confidence. But the next season is almost taken out of a fairy tale and the true rise of Jamal Musiala. He has a well-balanced season with 16 goals and 16 assists, but what comes next is the true shocker. On 27th May 2023, Musiala scored the winning goal in the 89th minute of the last game of the season in a 2-1 away victory over FC Köln. This goal clinched the 11th consecutive league title for his club, again ahead of rivals Dortmund, on goal difference. Can you believe that? At 20 years of age, he has already scored 2 Bundesliga deciding goals. Pretty much exactly 1 year later, something strange happened that shocked football Europe. And I'm not talking about Harry Kane's desire to finally win a title and joining Bayern, because that happened in August of 2023. I'm talking about Vincent Kompany replacing Thomas Tuchel as Bayern manager. They couldn't manage to renew Tuchel's contract and were neglected by both Xabi Alonso and Julian Nagelsmann. So the only solution was to turn to Vincent Kompany, who just got relegated with Burnley. But his managerial style, oddly enough, seemed to work for Bayern, and even more so for our main boy for today's episode. Today, Musiala is becoming what may be the most lethal offensive midfielder in the world, and much of that is thanks to Vincent Kompany, according to Musiala himself. He has a new role under Kompany, where he is acting as the second striker behind Harry Kane. He is going more often into the box, finishes more often, and trying to score simpler goals rather than having his dribbling tallies off the flank. He has already scored 18 goals this season and bagged 8 assists before the injury. His contract with Bayern was extended in 2024 until 2030, so I guess we won't see him play anywhere but Bayern for a good couple of years. I think we're looking at a future Ballon d'Or winner here, guys. Not only because of his dribbling skills or the recent development in front of goal. Jamal has got the right character, as he is determined to always improve and yet keeps his feet on the ground. But let's say it's 2030 and Musiala is out of contract. We just play with the thought here that he really wants to leave Bayern and join a new club. Where would you like to see him? Let me know in the comments and make sure to subscribe for more stories just like this one. We'll definitely follow up on this episode in a few years, when Musiala gets the recognition that he deserves.